up, layoffs at the Grand Bahama International Airport. A progress report on repairs at the Rand Memorial Hospital. And students getting ready to return to school in Abaco. The Bahamas Tonight, the Northern Edition starts now.
This is the Bahamas Tonight, Northern Edition.
Watching the Bahamas Tonight, the Northern Edition. Good evening, all. I'm Shashina Rowe-Parkinson. As always, it is so great to have you with us. Topping news, more fallout tonight in the Grand Bahama economy as terminations are underway at the Grand Bahama International Airport, which is owned by the Hutchison Group of companies. According to union officials, today's exercise is just the beginning of things to come. It's been speculated for a while now, reports of imminent layoffs at the Grand Bahama International Airport. On Thursday, it was confirmed as 11 employees of the Grand Bahama International Airport were called into a meeting at the Freeport Harbor and given severance packages. According to Union President Dave Barr, 9 of the terminated workers are from the Security Department, and the remaining 2 are from the Facilities Department. He says management is calling the move a right-sizing exercise.
Well, yes, that's the terminology is being used now, right-sizing. The company needs to get in a position where it has the adequate staff to run the operation, whereas we know from the damages that occurred through Dorian, a lot of things happen out there that, we have people on the job, but there's no place for them to really be. So the company says in order for them to continue to function, they have to right size, which is, we know, means downsizing.
But this is just the beginning, as more layoffs are expected through a phased approach. The question that lingers is how many and when. But Barr says management remains tight-lipped on the specific details. At this point, he believes that the process was smooth and amicable. He is satisfied that all packages have been paid in full.
We had, in fact, the copy of the agreement with us. Mrs. Capron read in the brief meeting they had before the exercise. She would have read from the contract, our agreement, which is dated 2018 to 2020, exactly verbatim what was written, and people were happy. We didn't have anybody complain or was disgruntled with their settlement.
The Grand Bahama International Airport incurred extensive damage during Hurricane Dorian, and repairs have been estimated to cost up to $40 million. Back in November, the Minister of Tourism and Aviation, Dionisio de Aguilar, noted that the government was eyeing the purchase of the airport, which is currently owned by the Hutchison Whampoa Port Holdings, but were working through all of the proposals and how it could work if acquired. When asked if this process could be a possible prelude to the government taking ownership of the airport, this was Barr's response.
It's strange. We've been hearing things in that light, but not from the company. In fact, no matter what we say to the company, you can't get them to make any kind of answer one way or the other. You don't. The whole thing is there's uncertainty right now, and to say anything else, it'll be wrong because we don't know. I'm hoping, for all intents and purposes, that the government takes over, even if they get some private entity to run it. I'm thinking ports of entry should be owned by the government, and that's my personal view.
Now, the Minister of Tourism and Aviation, Dionisio de Aguilar, told members of the media in the capital yesterday that the government is not happy with the condition of the airport and that they are also unhappy with the rate of repairs at the Grand Bahama International Airport. Late last year, it was disclosed that the government is looking at the option of purchasing the entity. De Aguilar said the government is still reviewing its options on the future of it, adding that a deal still has to be brokered with the owner, Hutchison Port Holdings. And switching gears now, the Grand Bahama Utility Company advising the public tonight of low pressure levels in West Grand Bahama. According to a statement from the company, they are currently working out maintenance work at one of the water plants, and as a result, Pressure levels will drop over the next 24 hours in 8 Mile Walk and West End. Meantime, GB Utility continues to work on restoring the salinity level to pre-Hurricane Dorian levels. Well, at last report, March was set as the date for fully restoring it to international standards. Switching gears now, some progress being made at the island's premier healthcare facility. The hospital sustained catastrophic damage during the September storm, and since then an extensive repair program was launched to bring the hospital back to standard. Well, tonight the health minister gives his take on the work done so far. Italia Hall has this report.
The Rand Memorial Hospital still rebuilding since Hurricane Dorian. The healthcare facility lost wards and offices, and healthcare services could only be administered in the emergency room area. Since then, much-needed repairs commenced at the premier healthcare facility. Health Minister Dr. the Honorable Dwayne Sands says he is pleased with the progress to date.
The movement in the old pediatrics area or the pediatrics area and in the main corridor with all of the wards on either side. The drywall is up. They are putting putty on, starting to sand. Walls are being closed up. Air conditioning systems are being changed, etc.
He says some critical decisions were made as it relates to the utilization of certain areas.
That will only expedite the renovations. We anticipate that there will need to be some new construction, but again, using a simple design, we believe that with the end of the deployment of Samaritan's Purse, that the completion of the hospital and the ability that the people of Grand Bahama can use the RAN, that we're going to be on schedule, on time, and have a facility that people are proud to use.
Now, as you may know, Samaritan's Purse is expected to leave in March of this year.
They are going to be leaving the facility for our use. And what we hope to do is to start to move certain services out of Samaritan's Purse and back into the RAN.
The minister also announced that a new clinic will be constructed in High Rock by July of this year, but he says that facility will be constructed differently.
So we are going to be using modular construction, prefab construction, hence the reason why I can say with a high degree of certainty that we're going to meet that July deadline.
Italia Hall, ZNS Network News.
In other news, the director of the Disaster Reconstruction Authority addressing criticisms that have emerged since Monday's pledging conference. It is estimated that Hurricane Dorian caused $3.4 billion in losses and damage. During Monday's event, it was disclosed that pledges were made in the amount of $1.5 billion in recovery funding and in-kind services. Italia Hall picks up this report.
The pledging conference was held on Monday, January 13th at the Bahamas Resort in New Providence. Reports say more than 300 local and international delegates were a part of that conference. There, some $1.5 billion was pledged, which will assist with recovery efforts on Grand Bahama and Abaco following Hurricane Dorian. Managing Director of the Bahamas Disaster Reconstruction Authority, Kay Forbes-Smith, says the pledges are not limited to cash.
I know that there's been a lot of talk in the media about the P3 group who donated or pledged $975 million, and that was not pledged in cash. But the pledging conference is no secret. Whatever was pledged is being worked out now and will be publicized in a very, very public way, I believe, tomorrow, because the persons who assisted the government, the organization of the conference, is now working and looking at those pledges, making sure that we understand what the intent was for every pledge, and they will make those pledges public.
She is adamant that there is nothing sinister about the pledging conference.
We should be a grateful people in a country for persons and organizations and entities who came and pledged. And like I said, this is, the IDB has a figure out there of the several billions of dollars that are going to be necessary for the rebuilding of this country. And so we are happy and pleased and appreciative of the persons who are prepared to support the government of the Bahamas and the people of the Bahamas. And like I said, pledges are not going to come just in cash alone. We need, as far as I'm concerned, we need as much technical support in this journey of recovery and rebuilding with resiliency.
The managing director cautions that Bahamians should be careful and not make disparaging comments about any offer.
We should not criticize people and their pledges. We should be thankful and grateful for whatever it is people are pledging. And I know someone called me today and said, well, is the authority going to take out this loan and take out the next loan? No, the authority has not decided on any kind of financing in respect of loans at the moment. But we have to be careful how we are accusing people, how we are vilifying people in the media about their pledges. I mean, it's very sad because we want to continue to encourage our local and international donors to continue to work with the Bahamas.
She says the authority wants the world to know that the Bahamas is on its way back to rebuilding and therefore help is needed from the international community. Italia Hall, ZNS Network News.
Now to the island of Abaco, where crews are working around the clock to get public schools back up and running. Schools were badly damaged in Central and North Abaco, and now the push is in for students to return to the classrooms. Megan Shepard is standing by live in Abaco with the latest. Megan.
Thanks, Sheena. Well, as a brief recap, as you may recall, it was the communities here in Central Abaco that received the most damage. But just recently, 2 major debris management sites were set up in Central Abaco. Now, if we drove around town earlier today, and you can clearly see a lot of progression is happening. Some of the major infrastructure that was damaged, those are being gutted. The debris is being brought to the front of the streets, and they're being transported to the 2 debris management sites that were set up recently. Now, another update and concern of residents is schools. When will their children be able to return to schools for full days? We visited 2 schools in the Cooperstown community, and the general contractor and principal say they see the light at the end of the tunnel. Getting closer to being able to return to their campuses, as work is currently underway at the Cooperstown Primary School and Sherlin-Boodle High School. General contractor spearheading repairs for the primary school, Anthony Cooper Jr., explains the scope of work.
Like the roofs, we have a few windows to change out, plumbing, electrical. We're changing all of the shingle. We changed everything from shingle to metal roof.
He says they began the repairs in the 2nd week of November, and they are aiming to be complete by the 2nd week of February.
In total, with contractors and general contractors, we have about, I would say, 28 guys in total.
And how's the work been going so far?
Everything's been going smooth. Material and funds are always on site, so we could push the job as fast as need be.
Now, over at the high school, Principal Arnold Cooper says that almost every class on the campus sustained damage. However, they have been utilizing a virtual program with the students.
What it did was it caused almost all of our students to be displaced. Right now, they are all over the Bahamas and parts of the world, but we have about 60+ virtual students that we have to house on island. It has presented its fair share of challenges, mainly because just how the school was damaged, so did the other centers. And so we've resorted to trying to find churches that can accommodate us. And the one that was gracious enough to accommodate us was in another settlement. And then we don't have busing, so then other challenges ensued.
He adds that repairs began early January, and he is hoping for a timely completion date.
We are scheduled to have repairs completed by April. And so while that is going on, we're also trying to see if we could a portion of the school to house our virtual students. So as the work is ongoing, then the kids would also be engaged as well.
Megan Shepard. Now tonight, my cameraman Gershon Swain and I are live at the New Vision Ministries, where a town meeting is currently in progress. Key presenters include Managing Director of the Disaster Reconstruction Authority, Kay Smith, Member of Parliament for North Abaco, the Honorable Darren Henfield, and Member of Parliament for Central and South Abaco, James Aubrey. They are expected to present the way forward for communities here in Central Abaco. Tomorrow, another town meeting will be held at 6 p.m. at Friendship Tabernacle Church. Reporting live from the island of Abaco, I'm Megan Shepard. Back to you, Sheena.
Excellent job, Megan. And still to come in the news, she's making a business out of bags. That story and more when we come back.